Flu cases are rising as temperatures dip in the coming few days. Taxi trade unhappy with another car-hailing platform. And Hong Kong government will file complaint to the World Trade Organization over U.S. tariffs. Good evening and thank you for joining us. As flu cases continue to surge in the city, the number of patients requiring daily accident and emergency services at public hospitals is exceeding 5,000. This as the hospital authority extended special measures to address the rise in service demand. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Patients at the Accident and Emergency Department of Kwong Wah Hospital had to wait up to 8 hours if they are categorized as non-urgent cases. This woman, who had been queuing at the hospital since 1 a.m., said she's still waiting for a hospital bed, adding that many are suffering because of the long wait. While this woman hopes the hospital will add more beds in the future. Over the past week, patients seeking A&E services increased from below 5,000 at the end of January to a daily average of 5,500. The usage rate of internal medicine wards has also surpassed 100%, as around 1,100 patients have been hospitalized. Dr. Larry Lee, a chief manager with the hospital authority, said health authorities have yet to decide when to stop the extension of special measures dealing with the peak flu season. He emphasized the HA will monitor the flu situation closely in consideration of the weather and other external factors. Meanwhile, 158 influenza A virus-related intensive care unit cases or deaths have been recorded over the past 2 weeks. Many of them involved patients who were not vaccinated. Dr. Lee noted among 9 serious cases involving children, only 2 of them received a jab. The HA urged patients with relatively mild symptoms to seek help at general outpatient clinics to alleviate the burden on A&E departments. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The cool weather warning is in effect. The observatory forecasts the temperature will drop even further later today. Sunday's temperature could drop to a minimum of 9 degrees Celsius, making it the coldest since the start of winter. The temperature could drop to as low as 11 degrees in urban areas tonight as a result of the effects of the winter monsoon. Areas throughout the new territories will remain cool throughout the weekend, with high places possibly reaching the freezing point. The observatory reminded residents that their bodies could feel colder than their actual temperatures, owing to the wind chill effect. The government has ordered the MTR to pay back a minimum of $1 million to passengers after a delay on the East Rail Line earlier this week. This after an engineering train on the line malfunctioned around 3 a.m. on Wednesday, causing a delay for some 7 hours. Some lawmakers raised concerns about the MTR owning just a single engineering train of this type, adding that the vehicle was already in use for 2 decades. The MTR stressed it will strengthen risk management of its assets and shorten the time needed to make necessary repairs on its trains. A new ride-hailing platform has extended its services from just booking taxis to paid rides with private cars. The move has sparked outrage in the taxi trade.
AutoNavi Taxi, better known in the mainland as Gauda Taxi, is a subsidiary of Alibaba. It began providing online ride-hailing services in Hong Kong last year. Initially, users could only book taxis. Recently, the app expanded to include private car reservations. TVB News tried out the app and booked a ride from Cheung Kwan O Industrial Estate to Admiralty. The platform presents 6 options. 4 of them are private cars with prices ranging from around $133 to $303. Taxis charge a fare of around $134. Chow Kwok Keung, president of the Taxi and Public Light Bus Association, lamented that AutoNavi had talks with Hong Kong's taxi trade more than a year ago and promised not to extend their booking services to private cars. These illegal rides, Chow said, has severely impacted their business, and the biggest issue is the move has led to a misconception that authorities will not take enforcement action against lawbreakers. Apart from Gauda, Singapore's ride-hailing platform Tada began operations in Hong Kong in late 2024. That means Hong Kong has at least 3 online ride-hailing platforms.
雖然乘客咧都好想話。
Lawmaker Ben Chan urged the government to expedite the completion of the regulation of online ride-hailing platforms and step up law enforcement. He said while the platforms have offered more convenience, it is illegal and passengers lack insurance protection. The Transport and Logistics Bureau said any person or organization that arranges a private car to carry passengers for hire must possess a valid taxi license. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chan said earlier she would meet with relevant operators and the taxi trade to exchange views on ride-hailing platforms with a target to formulate a framework for public consultation this year.
Last year, the Education Bureau revoked the licenses of 71 teachers for professional misconduct. That marked an increase of 24 more deregistrations than the previous year. With that, Legislative Council members are calling for more frequent audits of teachers. This as some serious cases of professional misconduct only came to light in the once every 3 years review of schools. Secretary for Education Christine Choi said the current time frame aims to prevent the wastage of resources. This as criminal records were updated every 3 years. Some other lawmakers also flagged a surge in written warnings from 43 issuances to 149 in 2024. The Hong Kong government said it will file a complaint with the World Trade Organization, or WTO, regarding United States' imposition of additional tariffs on the city. A government spokesperson said Washington's additional 10% tariff on Hong Kong goods violated WTO principles, and that the act disregards the city's status as an independent customs territory. The spokesperson noted the decision was made in defense of the legal interests of Hong Kong, adding the city has always been proponents of multilateral trade. The spokesperson urged the U.S. to change course with its actions. Donald Trump's choice for top U.S. trade negotiator Jamieson Greer says a universal tariff needs further study. Greer put all countries on notice that they must lower import barriers to maintain access to the U.S. market. David Garrett reports.
A US Senate confirmation hearing for President Trump's pick for US trading chief. Incoming US Trade Representative grilled on the Hill, Jamieson Greer said universal tariffs need further exploration, and he'll report back in April.
We need to have a pragmatic trade policy where we're looking, sometimes sector by sector, sometimes economy-wide, often on a bilateral basis. How can we have very competitive terms of trade?
In the week when Trump has imposed new 10% tariffs on Chinese goods and China retaliated, Greer was asked about the relationship with Beijing. Greer told the committee there needs to be a balance. They will review previous mistakes from both sides. 25% taxes on Mexican and Canadian imports have been paused. One Democratic senator says the upheaval and uncertainty is damaging.
America has had its first taste of Trump's rancid trade policy this week. Here, colleagues, are the receipts that demonstrate how much damage these flawed trade policies that we have seen thus far are doing.
We've reached an agreement with President Trump on border cooperation and security, an agreement that pauses tariffs for the next month.
Outgoing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau taking the applause as Canada breathes a sigh of relief for now.
So this is positive, and it is progress. But at the same time, our work does not take proposed tariffs completely off the table.
Canada negotiators may have celebrated with a glass of Italian bubbly. In the US, the price of Prosecco has ballooned by 40% in recent weeks. Trump says EU countries could be next on his tariff hit list. Importers are stockpiling Prosecco, but limiting sales.
We've seen it before during the first administration when they announced extra duty rates, and we see it now. So importers are front-loading their orders in order to bypass the threat of additional duty rates.
As the Italian grapes grow, exporters say they don't expect extra duties, but do expect Trump and his trade chief to use the threat as a bargaining chip. David Garrett, TVB News.
As Panama has pulled out of the Belt and Road Initiative, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio argues the U.S. military should have free passage through the Panama Canal. Washington State Department posted yesterday that U.S. government vessels can transit the canal without fees, adding that it would save the U.S. millions of dollars. The Canal Authority says there's been no change. Panama's president reacted quickly. Jose Molino saying there's no deal and he does not have the power to set or exempt individual countries. Meanwhile, Rubio, now in the Dominican Republic, keeps pushing U.S. claims on the canal.
The United States has a treaty obligation to protect the Panama Canal if it comes under attack. That treaty obligation would have to be enforced by the armed forces of the United States, particularly the U.S. Navy. I find it absurd that we would have to pay fees to transit a zone that we are obligated to protect.
And still ahead, President Xi Jinping welcomes VIPs ahead of the opening of Winter Asian Games in Harbin. U.S. federal judge blocked Donald Trump's plan to reduce the number of federal employees by offering them financial incentives to resign. Welcome back. The 9th Asian Winter Games will open shortly this evening. The event is being held at the northeastern Chinese city of Harbin in Heilongjiang, where President Xi Jinping will declare the once every 4-year tournament open. The 8-day multi-sport event will see a record number of countries and regions, as well as the highest number of athletes in the showpiece's history.
This year's Asian Winter Games features 34 participating countries and regions from Asia. The China team will be fielding 170 athletes. Harbin Taiping Airport has been adorned with decorations and banners to welcome international athletes and guests. Dedicated lanes and service counters set up too for participants. At around noon, President Xi Jinping and First Lady Peng Liyuan hosted a welcome banquet for dignitaries. They include Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach, and Vice President of the Olympic Council of Asia Timothy Falk. In his speech, Xi said this year's Asia Winter Games marks a record in both the number of participating countries and regions and the tally of athletes. He said Harbin is the birthplace of modern ice and snow sports in China, and that its ice and snow culture and economy have helped open up the city to the outside world. Team Hong Kong named Adrian Yong and Lam Chingyan as flag bearers for the opening ceremony. Lam Chingyan is representing Hong Kong in short track speed skating. She clinched 2 golds and 1 silver medal at the Asian Open Championships last year. Skier Adrian Yong took part in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics as the first male athlete in Hong Kong to qualify for the alpine skiing event. Leading the Hong Kong delegation, Timothy Fox said the pair represent the new generation of athletes with outstanding results at international competitions in recent years, proving that while Hong Kong is a snowless city, it can still produce top-notch winter sports talent.
A U.S. federal judge has blocked President Donald Trump's plan to reduce the number of federal employees by offering them financial incentives to resign. The ruling came hours before the midnight deadline for workers to apply for the Deferred Resignation Program, described as a buyout. Trump's press secretary accused some federal workers of wanting to rip the American people off, with the president saying he wants to downsize the government. Nasri Karim with more.
These are federal workers who are members of the National Treasury Employees Union, representing some 37 government agencies. Many of them would have been among those offered a buyout by the Trump administration in a bid to cut spending. Roughly 2.3 million federal employees have been offered buyouts in which they voluntarily resign but are still paid until September 30th. The government says at least 40,000 workers have already agreed, or about 5% of the workforce. However, the buyout program has been put on hold days after Trump signed an executive order. A federal judge in Boston has temporarily blocked the plan, supervised by billionaire Elon Musk, hours before the deadline to apply for the program. The district judge sided with labor unions requesting a temporary restraining order and scheduled a hearing for Monday. Musk has been put in charge of the new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Musk's involvement in government has also upset a number of Democratic attorneys general who have vowed to stop him from accessing federal payment systems containing sensitive information belonging to American citizens.
Elon Musk has absolutely no business handling the personal information of American taxpayers, period. For an unelected billionaire to have full access to Americans' personal tax and Social Security information is not only egregious, violation of privacy, but it is illegal under Section 6103 of the Internal Revenue Code.
House Democrats in the powerful Ways and Means Committee are also demanding answers on Musk's access to taxpayers' privacy data. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order imposing sanctions on the International Criminal Court, or ICC, claiming the court has engaged in illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and its close ally, Israel. The ICC had earlier issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, citing Israel's war crimes and crimes against humanity they committed during Israel's military operation in Gaza. The ICC has no jurisdiction over the United States or Israel, as neither country is party to the Rome Statute or a member of the ICC, the order said. The Rome Statute is the international treaty that established the ICC. The executive order said the U.S. will impose significant consequences on those responsible for the ICC's transgressions, such as the suspension of entry into the U.S. of ICC officials. It may be freezing weather in Japan, but the snow monkeys in Jigokudani Park in Nagano Prefecture know how to stay warm. As temperatures fall, these smart monkeys hop into a natural hot spring to bathe in the warmth amidst the icy weather. Watching these macaques interact is one of the major attractions in the park. The number of people visiting the park last year reached 257,000. Most of the monkeys seen bathing are females. Males rarely participate in the communal baths. According to staff, just as humans have preferences, some monkeys simply choose not to bathe. And the increase in visitor numbers has improved the park's finances, but the park director expressed concerns over the impact of tourism on the animals, particularly as many people try to physically interact with them. And that's the news. Have a great weekend.